Network marketing is an extraordinary business model for anyone to earn an extra $500 a month, $700 a month, or a great deal more. And you know what's true is not everybody succeeds, but anyone can. If I can succeed, you can succeed. I believe it's one of the most extraordinary wealth building models on the planet because it incorporates geometric progressions and compounding, which Einstein quoted as being the 8th wonder of the world. Hey, this is Richard Brook here with Bliss Business on the island of Lanai, with the grand opportunity of interviewing Mr. Andi Duli, who's got one of the most extraordinary success stories in the history of network marketing. He's one of the top distributors with Zurvita, based in Houston, Texas, and been involved in network marketing now for only 5 or 6 years, and has already built an extraordinary business. This guy, just in 5 years, has got to 7-figure-a-year income, just shy of it. He's a liquid multimillionaire and debt-free. All of this stemming from being a pizza delivery guy just 5 or 6 years ago. So we're going to hear the story about how Andi immigrated to the United States, came here barely speaking English, without any college education, and pursued getting a college education, and then discovered network marketing. And we're going to hear from him what he did with that extraordinary opportunity. And what I want you to do as listeners here at Bliss Business is just map your situation onto Andi's and take a look at the platform from which you have the opportunity to launch your network marketing business and build whatever you want to build, and compare your platform to the platform that Andi started with. And I think what you'll find is you're in a position to build whatever you want to build in the next 4 to 5 years, your own 4-year career. So Andi, thank you for joining us. You and Shannon came to visit us here on the island of Lanai. Kimmy and I are excited to have you. And I want to dive deep into your story, and I want to start with Albania. So tell us about growing up in Albania and your dream to come to America.
Well, Albania was in communism for 45 plus years, and my very first 11 years I grew up in the harsh years of communism. Very tough life. The country was isolated. No one could leave. Nobody could come in. And if you attempted to leave the country, if they caught you, they would kill your whole family. Everything was with portion control. Most nights we went to bed hungry. I remember long lines to buy bread and milk and the very basic necessities. And if they heard you, if the government heard you complain, your whole family would be in trouble. So that was about 11 years of communism, and then another 7 years after the communism fell. Very tough life. So my parents really struggled. So at age 18, I begged my parents to send me to America. I tell people all the time there is no Albanian dream, so I came to the States for the American dream, for an opportunity. All I wanted was a chance. And came to America with literally a few $100 in my pocket, no English, by myself, a small suitcase with the clothes on my back.
So when you're living in Albania, what do you hear about America that has you say, I gotta go?
Freedom, opportunity. If you can dream it, you can have it. You can do, become, achieve anything you want to. And that's all I wanted.
Was there any, did you hear any particular stories or any brand names or any particular Americans that you, were inspired by?
Not that I remember, but just when you lack the very basic necessities, when you lack a meal, and you hear that out of the country or in America they have jobs, they have opportunities. You don't worry about going to bed hungry. You don't worry about, having power a few hours a day or having water a few hours a day. That was just inspiring.
So you come to America. Where did you actually land? Did you fly in, and where did you fly into?
I flew to Atlanta, Georgia, a big airport. Got lost.
That's a big airport.
Went to a McDonald's. Yeah.
Your first McDonald's ever?
First McDonald's.
What'd you order?
I couldn't order anything. My first few broken words I knew I was trying to order something. The McDonald's was busy. That kid said something and then left, and I'm there by myself thinking, what's another day going to bed hungry? So I turned around and left.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where'd you go from Atlanta?
Atlanta, and then to Oklahoma City. I went to a college there, to a language institute in Edmond, Oklahoma, to learn English, and then I went to college.
So you got a visa to actually go to that particular college in Edmond, Oklahoma,
That's correct.
and you didn't speak English.
No English at all.
So how do you go to a language institute? You're 18 years old and you start to learn the English language. So how did you go through that process? What did you do?
Pretty hard. Had a dictionary, and the professors are very patient. A lot of drawing, and I just reading 10, 12 hours a day, studying 12 hours a day, and paid big money for the school. My parents paid that. So I took it was a 2-month process to learn enough English where you pass certain tests as an international student to go to college.
And so you went to which college?
University of Central Oklahoma.
That's a very famous college. University of Central Oklahoma. And how long did you go to school? And so I know you're the fame of your story is you were a pizza delivery guy, like I was a chicken chopper, and so that story has probably helped make you a lot of money. So tell us about college and how you ended up delivering pizzas.
It's fascinating how the struggle back then turned to be a big blessing today. Yeah. But went to school for about 3 years. My GPA was 1.6, so I dropped out of college. So no college education.
Yeah. And so how'd you end up delivering pizzas?
I had a roommate that was a delivery driver at that time. I was a cook for Pizza Hut. Mm-hmm. And as a cook, you couldn't make tips, enough money. I had a bicycle. So I would go to work with a bicycle. I had 2 jobs. I worked for an ice cream place, Brahms, mm-hmm. and I worked for Pizza Hut. And he told me if you save enough money, you can actually get a delivery job and you get paid more money. Mm-hmm. So it took me about 1.5 years in America to save enough money to buy my first car.
So for 1.5 years, you rode a bike in Oklahoma?
Bicycle, summer, winter, hot, cold.
Wow. So how'd you discover network marketing?
Met a guy in church, but he caught me at the right time. I'd been frustrated. I'd been searching, praying for a breakthrough. I'd applied for different jobs. Nobody gave me a chance. I had no experience, tough economy at the time, no degree, no skill, and I'm just looking for anything. And I met him, and he asked me what I did for a living. I told him I'm in between jobs. I was embarrassed to tell him I'm a delivery driver, and I asked him what he did, and he briefly mentioned to me, self-employed entrepreneur, home business, works for himself, time freedom, excited about the opportunity, company looking for a few good people, and he said, I think you'd be great at that. And that intrigued me. Talked about briefly, part-time income, grow it into a full-time passive residual income. You work for yourself, in charge of your life. And I asked him for more information, Richard. He said, I'll share with you more later. And then he changed the subject. And all I could think about was opportunity, income, work for yourself. So I'm like, hey, tell me again. So I'll just bring you a DVD later. Very nonchalantly, and I could not wait to talk to the guy again to get more information.
So just the opposite of like telling somebody all about the opportunity and why they should do it. And so he just fed you little bite-sized pieces, left a little trail for you.
Instead of hunting me, he put a little, bait out there, and he attracted me to him. And I could not, he made me want to learn about what he had.
Mm-hmm. So that was a network marketing company, as I recall in your story, that sold services, and
Correct.
You did that for a couple of years. And did you have success there?
No, my biggest month was 1 month only for $2,700. Never saw that month again. And that was a big month, but that was the biggest check I ever had. Prior to my current company, I never made more than $3,000 a month my whole life.
Okay. And so you found Zurvita about 5 years ago?
Correct.
And so tell us about that path. So what's happened in the last 5 years? How did you start off, and did you struggle initially in Zurvita?
Oh gosh, I surely did. The company came at a time when I had over 40,000 in debt, had a car that honked by
That's
itself.
right, your famous honking car.
Oh gosh, not even my car. A friend of mine gave me that car. I said, Andy, if you can keep it just a few more years, it could be a classic. It could really be a classic. Old car, looked like a boat, sounded like a boat. And my first few opportunity meetings, I would park far because I would be too embarrassed of the honking car. So I've got a bunch of debt, I've got a honking car, but I got excited.
So was that like the burglar alarm going off, or was it just the horn?
Oh my gosh, it was the horn. First time it happened was 3 o'clock in the morning, and the car starts honking. I wake up like, what's loud noise? And still half asleep, pick up my cell phone, pick up my home phone by my bedside, run to the front door, then it dawned on me it's the car. Battery out.
Yeah, right. What happened next? Like, how did you turn things around at Zurvita?
I went to a big event. I hit rock bottom, and I think it was a perfect storm. And you know, I think most people live in this no man's land where they're hurting, but they're not hurting enough to make a change. And it was October of 2011, rock bottom financially, credit cards maxed out, looking for a job in the newspapers, just wondering how am I going to pay my bills that month, frustrated, scared, messed with my head if you can provide for a family as a man. And I went to a big event. I went to the mastermind event, and very blessed to connect with you. We had lunch together and got inspired there, learned a lot, and I had just a few things holding me back, and I shared my heart with you. You shed light into what was holding me back, and between that, getting inspired, hitting rock bottom, perfect storm, I made a decision right then. Sometimes I feel like it takes people years to get to that moment in time where they decide. And for me, just magic happened that weekend, and I went back home. I dove all in and just turned things around.
Tell us about that decision. So what was spinning through your mind that, and then all of a sudden it just like locked onto something? What was that process? What did it sound like?
Well, if I may, as I'm walking out of that event, I saw a friend of mine that I had not seen in a few years. And this guy, last time I saw him, he had lost everything. And I see him at this event. We got to talk, looking great, nice suit. And he told me he was back in the increase again. I asked him what that meant. He said $60,000 a month. My jaw dropped. And I said, Chris, it can't be. I mean, I love you, but I don't believe you. Show me. And he showed me, and lo and behold, he was earning over $60,000 a month in income. So between being broke, being inspired in the same time, hitting rock bottom, seeing a friend of mine that last time I'd seen him, he was struggling, and now he's winning. And I asked him what changed. He said, I dreamed again. I thought my light bulb was on, but it was off. And he challenged me, if you can dream one more time, if you can get excited one more time, let go of the past one more time. So that right there got everything spinning, and made a decision right then. I feel like every ounce in my body believed that next year I was going to have a huge breakthrough. And I believe in the power of confessions. What you confess, you possess. So I went back home. I had a new goal. Had a new destination. And every person I came in contact with, I shared my goal. And I was so congruent with my vision. That vision really pulled me through so much. I could have bet my life. I knew that next year I was going to reach the goal I set.
So it was more than a goal. It was like you saw it and totally believed it. And that had you go out. And how did you go out and talk to people? I know you were congruent and focused, but how about, like, who did you talk to that you didn't talk to before, and how many people did you talk to?
Talked to people I talked to before. I went back to some of the same people. I went to some of my neighbors. I went to some of my team members at that time that were pretty much gone. And I think they just needed an example. They needed somebody to believe again. And so because of my fire, my vision, and it didn't matter. I mean, I thought I'd approached everybody. I went through my phone and there were so many people I had not reached out yet.
Yeah.
And social media. And then it's amazing how the right people, I mean, will come in your life at the right time when you really make certain decision. And the right people came, we locked arms, partnered up, and the next year was the best year of my life.
So talk about the power of events. That all happened in an event, and that was not your first mastermind, was it? The one you just...
It was not.
Which mastermind event was that?
Must have been the third, I believe. I'd been to a few others prior.
And so what happens at events? Why are events so important? And maybe a way to contrast is, if you weren't at Mastermind, I don't remember if that was Houston, that was probably Houston Mastermind. If you weren't at Mastermind that weekend, what would you have been doing?
Oh gosh, somebody once said it's hard to solve a problem with the same level of awareness and thinking that got you there.
Right.
So here's my challenge, here's where I'm at, and I can't see the dream, I can't see the forest for the trees. And that event literally took me into another level of thinking, like a 30,000 foot view. And it inspired me, it helped me, see the possibilities. And I never sell the business. People they either see it or they don't. But it's hard to tell me no for events, because I feel like, if I buy their story, I'm not helping them. They're stuck. They got to buy my story, why they got to be there. Because unless people change how they think about money, they'll never have it. I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for having a strong mentor and hearing your story and seeing other people that encouraged me to get to an event. And I told them, you don't know my situation. It doesn't make sense. But had a good friend that said, hey, if what made sense to you was good, you'd be rich. So don't take your own advice.
Right.
So events is where decisions are made. Events is where you can dig deep down your heart, and you can really, that's where the breakthrough first happens.
Right. So what happened? You went out and built what?
I went back to work, found some great people, and that next year I had a multiple six-figure check.
Wow. Paid off your debt?
Paid off my debt, because a few years prior I got into buy now, pay later, look better than I was actually at, just me, trying to impress people, lifestyle, and as I mentioned early in our conversation, you can either look good or be good. I was trying to be much more than I was. So this time around, I decided I'm going to save, I'm going to be debt free, and I stayed in the same home for a few years, making over $500,000, drove the same car, earning the kind of money. So I did not upgrade my lifestyle right away. We invested in the team, in the business, debt free, and saved. And
so what percentage of your income would you say you reinvest in your team, in the business, in lifting other people up, inspiring other people?
Gosh, it's different every month. I mean, it's different depending on the project. There have been years I've invested as much as 25, 30% in my business. There have been years a bit less. And depending on finding the right people where I can lock arms with, just big on events, so big on investing in people, in their growth. So depending on the month, on the year, on the project, on the people I'm working with, and so forth.
And you've invested a lot in you. You and Shannon have invested a lot in both of you in your own personal development. What have you done? What have you invested in you?
Gosh, I remember when we first got married years ago, my in-laws would ask me, what can we get you for Christmas? And I'll tell them I'd like to have this book and this book. And then they would say, in addition to that, what else? I'm like, if I can have something else, can I have this other book? Okay, well, what else does Andy want? Another book. So once I realized that successful people invest right here. And I've heard it said before that if you can empty your pocket into your mind, your mind can fill your pocket with gold. So company events are non-negotiable. I mean, if you're asking yourself the question, should I go or should I not go at the next company event, you don't understand the business. You're not ready for a breakthrough. It's still first grade. So company events, non-negotiable. And so definitely there, gosh, learning, reading, I've got mentors, CDs. My car will never start without gasoline and a CD.
But you've spent a lot of money and a lot of time on actual events, like
Yes.
you going. What kind of events have you gone to?
I've gone. I love the mastermind. I've gone to Tony Robbins, several of his events. They've had a huge impact. I've gone to networking events, and Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn back in the day.
Right.
And every time I went, I got lifted up mentally, emotionally, awareness-wise, and I went and applied what I learned. And I always, moved further ahead in life. So I kept doing that, and the more I learned, the more I applied. I got a new hunger. I would learn more, go apply more, earn more, and I just became addicted to the process.
So let's talk numbers, because I'm passionate about numbers. People say, oh, well, he makes a lot of money. You said something about he makes almost 7 figures a year. And I think that just boggles people's minds, because, that's like a 1 in, 50,000 person story. Not very many people do what you've done. Talk numbers. The first year after you had your breakthrough in Mastermind, where you went out and really built with conviction, you remember how many people you personally sponsored? Maybe you gave some of them away, which a lot of people do, but if you hadn't gave anybody away, you kept them all, how many would you have sponsored?
I would say I sponsored a good 80, 90 people. And I've had to relaunch a few times. I've had to...
Tell us about that.
Oh, gosh. and by the way, I think everybody that wants to build it big, somehow, if you haven't gone, you may go, because business never goes like this. I didn't change my company when the company did this. And I had a couple of downfalls where my team left, I regrouped, relaunched, built it, they left again. So a couple of times we had some changes, went from services to health and wellness, and now I'm left alone.
Your company changed their entire product line.
I believed in the founders, I believed in the leadership, and I loved the product, but now I'm like, I had doubts, had some demons, can I do it again? So deciding to regroup, relaunch one last time with everything I had in me became the run of my life. And
how many people do you think you sponsored the second year?
Second year, less than that. I would say 40 to 50.
Third year?
Third year, about that. About that.
So
40,
maybe
50.
a total of 150 people the first 3 years. So if you can just imagine that as that's the nucleus. Out of those 150 people, today, how many of those people are leaders that are driving their own legs deep?
I've got 3 solid legs, ambassador legs, that have, and that's our top level, that have great leaders under them. I've got a couple more that are just great legs. So I got 4 or 5 strong ones.
And would you ever be able to predict who was the one? Who was the one who actually went and did it?
Who was the one that went and did?
Yeah, so you personally sponsored 30 or 40 people. Did you have any idea out of those 30 or 40 people who would be the one that would actually go on to build a big team themselves?
Yeah, I found a couple. They were good friends of mine. They had joined me before and they left. I loved them on the way in. I loved them on the way out. Friendship first, always. And because of that, they came back. And this couple went to work. They lived in a small town. They caught the vision of being the pioneers of a small town, 20,000 people. And I painted this big picture. Someone's going to bring this movement there. Why not you? You can be the master rep. So you don't have to live in Chicago or Dallas or
better if you don't.
Wherever you are, you can be that. And that couple earned $500,000 a year plus within their first few years, and that really exploded my business.
So you've been at it now 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So at the 5-year mark, you started with about 130, 140, 150 people. You got 5 or 6 that are really driving and building. What have they built? How many people do you have on your team total?
Gosh, 16, 17,000 people. This past 12 months, we did about $14 million in sales. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful.
So here's what I want you to do. Take out a piece of paper and just start with, okay, personally sponsor over 3 years, maybe 130, 140 people. That's a pace of about 40 to 50 people a year, which is the pace that we teach you in Bliss Business. You got to personally sponsor about 3 or 4 people a month, every month, to keep that momentum and keep that excitement and keep your car going up the hill until you find those leaders. What I want you to do is put that on a piece of paper. You start with maybe 140 people, and out of that you've got, let's just say, 4, and those 4 do the same thing. You got 16, and then 64, and then 256, and then 1,024, then 4,096, and then the next generation you end up where Andy is, 16,000 active people on your team doing $40, $50 million a year in business. And what have you done with that? So tell us about your and Shannon's life now. And one of the things I admire so much about you too is you're like the new network marketing leader. If I was talking to somebody like Andy 15 years ago, and he made 15 years ago equivalent money you might be making, $30,000 or $40,000 a month, what I can promise you, if I said, so, have you paid off your home yet? They'd say, well, actually, we're just leasing. And are your cars paid off? Oh, we're leasing the cars. And what's your credit score? They wouldn't even know it's so bad. They didn't even want to look at it. The typical, even the most successful network marketing leader 10, 15, 20 years ago, typically, of course there was exceptions, just way overspent. And it was all about the show and all about the hype. And so you and, some other friends of ours are like the new leaders in network marketing. What have you done with your money?
I saved a lot. I got into real estate, got a few properties free and clear. And
what's a few?
I've got 3 properties completely free and clear. 3 homes.
Paid for.
Paid for. Good homes, nice homes. And
paid for.
No debt, no car payment.
You have any cars?
I have a car.
1 car.
I've got 2 cars, one for me, one for my wife, and
paid for.
I don't have any credit card debt, and
no credit card debt at all.
No credit card debt.
You don't have any minimum payments on it?
No, the grass feels great when you own it. The car drives different when you don't have any payments. You sleep better at night.
Yeah.
But it takes a sacrifice in the beginning. It takes a sacrifice, but I promise you, it's so worth it.
So at just shy of $1 million a year, that's like, 80 some odd $1,000 a month. Of course, you got to put away some for taxes. That's after taxes, at least like $50,000, $60,000, and you don't have any overhead. Wow, that's like putting away $40,000 or $50,000 every month. That's
right.
Like buying a new house every 6 months.
That's right. Yeah, unless if your highest value is, show off and shopping and clothes and toys, then money goes there. My highest value is I want to be free. I want to be in charge of, I want to be prosperous and free. I want to do more, give more, have more, travel more. I want to make a difference, and I want to be wealthy. Why not leave an inheritance to your children's children? I want to do that. So it takes saving, investing, and living under your means.
You're a great inspiration. You and Shannon have built an extraordinary business, inspiring so many people. Think about it this way, folks. People die every day, trying to get in this country just for a shot, something that you and I take for granted all the time. And what sits in front of us with network marketing is an opportunity where any of us can invest $500 or $1,000, 10 or 12 or 15 hours a week, for 3 or 4 years, on fire, playing full out. And if you manage your money right, manage your mind right, you can end up 4 or 5 years later a multimillionaire. And let me offer a disclaimer. This is not a 1 in a million story, but it's probably a 1 in 25,000 story, and the odds are you will never smell this level of success. That's the odds. Your choice whether you choose to defy them. Thank you, Andi Duli, for joining us on the island of Lanai. It's awesome to spend a couple days with you and Shannon, get this story on video, and look forward to seeing you down the road, brother.
We love the house, the views, the lifestyle you guys have, and thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. It's an old cliche, but if we can do it, you can do it. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.